After being thrown out of a window at Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, Wednesday is taken to the hospital and leaves her parents worried, as she remains unconscious for several days. When she finally wakes up, the girl encounters Principal Weems and leaves the room to try to understand what is happening. However, upon crossing the door, Wednesday finds herself in a garden and realizes she is in the spiritual world. At that moment, Principal Weems appears with the news that she is the young woman's new spiritual guide. What Wednesday could never have imagined is that the two are distant relatives and Weems is her 13th cousin. During their conversation, Wednesday discovers that she has permanently lost her psychic abilities, and with the principal's help, she regains consciousness. When she finds out that the girl has finally awakened, Judy calls the hunter she hired to get rid of all the fugitives from the lab and discovers that patient 1938 is still at large. Upon arriving at the hospital, the woman discovers that Wednesday intends to make an anonymous report about the laboratory hidden in the basement of Willow Hill and claims that all evidence that could link her to a possible crime has been erased. Upon hearing this, Wednesday leaves the room and receives a note written by Tyler, in which the madman states that she and Enid will be eliminated that night. Seeing her enemy standing at the end of the hallway, Wednesday goes after him, but the young man manages to escape once again. Concerned for her friend's safety, the girl returns to school and is relieved to find that Enid is fine. Suddenly, Principal Weems appears and informs her that she has decided to stay nearby so she can keep an eye on her pupil. Knowing that she cannot guarantee Enid's safety without her powers, Wednesday decides to tell her the truth and advises her to go home before it's too late. However, instead of listening to her friend's advice, Enid decides to stay at Nevermore and claims she is not afraid of Tyler. That day is the day of the deceased holiday, and Wednesday realizes that her enemy has chosen a very symbolic day to eliminate her. This makes her proud, in a way. When she finds out that Dort has been chosen as her replacement, Principal Weems is disappointed, as she knows that he was nowhere near her pre-approved list of successors. Concerned about Tyler's invasion of the school, Wednesday tries to convince the new principal to cancel the festivities planned for that night, but Dort is excited about the visit of potential donors who will be visiting the academy in a few hours. While searching for patient 1938, the hunter breaks into the sewer and ends up being found by Tyler, who transforms into Hyde to get rid of him. That afternoon, Wednesday decides to question the music teacher, as she discovered that her ex-boyfriend was eliminated shortly after attacking her. According to the girl's research, Capri met Alfie at an art colony and spent some time with him before suffering an attack. The teacher claims that Alfie's teacher was in love with him, so she ordered him to get rid of his girlfriend. Luckily, the attack happened on a full moon night and Capri managed to fight him off, but Alfie's teacher ended up losing her life. Shortly thereafter, the young man began to suffer from paranoia and advanced physical decline that led to his own demise. Upon finding what was left of the hunter, Slurp takes the opportunity to feed, and accidentally finds the photo of patient 1938, so he decides to go after her. That night, Pugsley and his father go out in search of their pet zombie and end up being invited to attend an event organized in honor of the day of the deceased. During the festivities, some people enter the maze of fear and encounter Slurp. Convinced that the zombie is just part of the cast, the residents of Jericho treat him normally until the creature attacks a human. Seeing all the guests fleeing the maze, one of the organizers decides to go there to check what is happening and starts screaming when she encounters a real zombie. When he discovers Slurp's location, Pugsley is filled with joy and runs towards him, as he can't wait to see his old friend again. As soon as he finds him, the young man realizes that the zombie has learned to speak and decides to help him escape from the police so that he has a chance to start his life over. After reading Marilyn Thornhill's diary, Wednesday gets an idea of how she became Hyde's master and decides to try to control Tyler by becoming his new master. While the girl and her friends prepare for battle, Morticia receives a visit from patient 1938, whose real name is Françoise. The woman is Morticia's former classmate and Tyler's mother. Years ago, everyone thought she had perished, but the truth is that she had been locked up in Willow Hill all this time. After infiltrating the event organized by Principal Dort, Tyler begins to search for his prey, and when he comes across Enid, he immediately runs after her. During the escape, the girl lures him to the cemetery, where she meets up with her friends to face Hyde. As soon as the monster transforms, Wednesday approaches to apply a potion she prepared herself to his body, but ends up being struck. Seeing Enid in danger, the girl uses herself as bait to lure Tyler and is about to become his new master when Françoise appears. After removing her son from the path, the woman goes after Wednesday, but Morticia appears just in time and reminds her old friend of the agreement they made. Françoise immediately stops the attack and runs away with Tyler. At that moment, Wednesday discovers that her mother made a deal with Hyde, who promised to control her son and take him away from Jericho forever. That night, Slurp, whose real name is Isaac, goes to meet Judy and has the chance to settle his score with her. The next morning, Wednesday and Enid are taken to the principal's office to explain what happened the night before, and the sheriff is surprised to discover that the second Hyde who appeared in Nevermore is Tyler's mother, whom everyone thought had perished 15 years ago. After the attack, the principal decides to institute a curfew at the school in order to ensure the safety of all students. Later, in a conversation with the principal, Wednesday discovers that her vision has not changed and Enid is still doomed to suffer the same fate. According to Principal Weems, the Addams family lineage has always drawn strength from the unity of its members, and Wednesday is also part of this spiritual heritage. Therefore, if she wants to regain her powers, the girl will have to restore her relationship with her mother. After hearing this, Wednesday once again refuses to deal with her own emotions, and her pride prevents her from trying to make peace with Morticia. As she is about to leave the room, the young woman runs into Professor Orloff and asks him if he ever met Francoise. In this conversation, she discovers that Tyler's mother had a brother named Isaac, who was the one who designed the support system that allows Orloff to continue living. When he studied at that school, Isaac was mentored by Stonehurst, who built him a secret laboratory in Lake Tower. However, one night there was an explosion in that laboratory and Isaac was never seen again. Some people say that the young man managed to escape, but others claim that his body is buried under the skull tree. Upon hearing this, Wednesday remembers the zombie her brother brought back to life and goes after Pugsley to ask about the creature's whereabouts. After discovering that Ugly let Slurp escape, the girl is disappointed to have a brother with such a soft heart and finds out that Isaac is looking for his sister. In an attempt to find a shortcut to regain her powers, Wednesday goes to ask her grandmother for advice, and Hester claims to have a solution to the girl's problem. The woman reveals that Rosaline Rotwood, her former teacher at Nevermore, had excellent psychic vision and is now buried in the school cemetery. If a raven recites the phrase engraved under Rotwood's tombstone, it will be granted temporary psychic vision. So, that night, Wednesday ignores the curfew to go to the cemetery, and Enid discovers that Professor Capri is going to all the rooms to check if the students are complying with the curfew, so she decides to go after her roommate. After reading the phrase engraved on the tombstone, Wednesday's consciousness is sent to Rotwood's chamber, and the woman instructs her to place her hand over the flame of a candle to have her vision temporarily restored. However, if she removes her palm from the flame, her psychic powers will be interrupted and the girl will have to pay a price. As soon as Wednesday places her palm over the flame and sees the location of Tyler and his mother, Enid appears and pulls her friend away from the tombstone. The moment their eyes meet, they both faint, and when they wake up, they realize they have switched bodies. Immediately, Wednesday, now in Enid's body, returns to the cemetery to try to undo the mess and discovers that two other crows went through something similar years ago. When that happened, both lost their lives in less than 24 hours, and at that moment, Wednesday realizes that her vision is about to come true, because in a few hours Enid will be prematurely eliminated because of her. That afternoon, Francoise realizes that someone is invading her hideout and is surprised by the sudden arrival of her brother. Upon seeing him, the woman cannot believe that he is alive, as she held him in her arms on the day he perished. After convincing her that he is back, Isaac meets his nephew and discovers that Francoise is very ill. The zombie claims that in Willow Hill there is a machine capable of saving his sister and eliminating the hide that exists within her. Knowing that during her time as a teacher, Rotwood lived in her mother's cabin, Wednesday decides to go there to contact the woman through the spirit camera and asks how to undo that curse. At that moment, Morticia appears and suspicious that Enid has been sent by Wednesday to snoop around the chamber, the woman orders the intruder to leave. Meanwhile, the real Enid puts on her colorful clothes and parades around the school with Wednesday's body, making all the students think she has finally lost her mind. Due to her allergy to colors, Wednesday's body begins to itch, leaving wounds scattered everywhere. Later, she goes to the Addams family cabin to attend a family dinner, and during the meal, Principal Weems shows up to talk to Morticia. When she finds out what is happening, the woman orders Enid to go find Wednesday, as they need to undo the switch before dawn. That night, Professor Orloff receives an unwanted visit from Isaac, who has come to steal the power source he created himself, which allowed the old man to continue living even outside his body. After turning off the machine the professor uses to move around, the zombie devours his brain and ends up being caught by Agnes, who disappears shortly after seeing that scary scene. Instead of telling the principal about the attack, the girl decides to go after Isaac and hides in the trunk along with Judy's body. While being transported, Agnes calls Wednesday and reveals that she has found Tyler and Isaac. Before hanging up, the girl shares her location and Wednesday realizes that they are on their way to Willow Hill. Upon arriving at the psychiatric hospital, Isaac takes his sister to the machine he designed himself to remove the abilities of the outcasts and plans to use it to remove Francoise's hide side. While Isaac turns on the machine, Tyler senses Agnes' presence and manages to capture her. After locking the girl in a cell, the young man leaves to keep his mother company, and Wednesday rushes to free her friend. As it is a full moon night, Enid's body begins to transform and Wednesday completely loses control of her actions. After breaking down the cell door, the werewolf attacks Tyler, but Enid manages to convince her to flee, as the place is about to explode. Upon arriving in the forest, Wednesday orders Agnes to return to Nevermore while she and Enid visit Rotwood's gravestone. After touching it, the two friends talk about the experiences they had while their bodies were switched and recognize the hidden characteristics they identified in each other. At that moment, they both faint again, and when they wake up, they feel relieved to know that they are back in their respective bodies. Upon getting up, Wednesday encounters her spiritual mentor and discovers that the premonition she had with Enid has disappeared, but now the life of a member of her family is at risk. After seeing the crime scene that ended Professor Orloff's life, Sheriff Santiago decides to send a team of police officers to take care of campus security. Concerned about the possible loss of one of her family members, Wednesday decides to talk to her mother and tells her that she had a vision of a tombstone with the name Adams written on it. To prevent this from happening, the girl decides to go after Tyler and his family and ends up finding their hideout. Upon arriving there, Wednesday comes across an empty medicine bottle and concludes that the trio has gone out to get more medication for Francoise, whose cough is getting worse. Inside that hideout, the young woman finds a sinister moth and enlists Eugene's help to find out why that insect is in the same place as Isaac. According to the young man, when they enter their migratory stage, these moths return to their host to lay their eggs and are able to find him wherever he is. Upon hearing this, Wednesday decides to use the insects to locate the zombie, and then goes to find Enid, who is locked in a cell to prevent her transformation that night. At that moment, Ajax appears and shares his suspicion that Bianca is in trouble, as the young man has reason to believe that the young mermaid is being manipulated by the headmaster. Immediately upon hearing this, Wednesday decides to pay a visit to Dort and discovers that her grandmother, who has never been inclined toward philanthropy, plans to donate her entire fortune to Nevermore. Suspicious that Bianca used her siren song to convince Hester to give up her fortune, Wednesday makes up an excuse to approach the girl and challenges her to a sword fight. After being defeated, Bianca decides to spill the beans and reveals that both she and her mother are being blackmailed by the headmaster. After confessing that she is being victimized by Dort, the mermaid uses her abilities to make Wednesday forget that conversation. However, when Bianca leaves, Agnes, who had been invisible all this time, tells Wednesday all the details about the conversation she just had. That night, upon arriving at the principal's office, Bianca comes face to face with her ex-stepfather and witnesses the moment when Dort eliminates Gideon, his partner in crime, to keep all of Hester's money for himself. The next day, during the gala ball, Wednesday approaches Bianca to ask where Dort is hiding her mother. The girl then informs Ajax of Gabrielle's whereabouts and sends him to rescue her. A few minutes later, while the principal is distracted by Enid's musical performance, Agnes steals the mermaid protection amulet from his pocket and gives it to Wednesday. At the end of the performance, Bianca takes the stage, and upon seeing that her mother is safe, she doesn't think twice before exposing Dort. As soon as the man climbs onto the stage, Bianca uses her singing to force the principal to tell the truth, detailing every trick he used to convince Hester to donate her entire fortune. After confessing his crime, Dort takes Bianca prisoner to try to escape, but Ajax uses his powers to petrify him. At that moment, the chandelier falls on top of the stone statue, and the principal's body is completely shattered. When everything seems fine, Eugene appears with the news that Isaac is in the Nevermore cemetery, exactly where Pugsley went to cool off. Upon finding the young man who gave him his life back, the zombie immediately eliminates him, and Wednesday arrives at the scene minutes later. When she realizes that her brother has disappeared, the young woman immediately calls the police to help find him, even though she is convinced that the sheriff will not be able to uncover Isaac's whereabouts. Afraid she won't be able to find her son in time, Morticia decides to swallow her pride and ask her mother, the third crow in the family, for help. When the three of them get together to try to locate Pugsley using their psychic abilities, Wednesday has a vision of her teenage parents burying Isaac's body under the skull tree. When pressed to reveal her secret, Morticia says that on the night Isaac's lab exploded, she and Gomez were at Lake Tower. After building the machine that would free Francoise from the Hyde curse, Isaac asked his best friend for help generating enough energy to power his machine. At that time, Gomez was as electrifying as Pugsley and was happy to have the opportunity to help his best friend. However, that night he was deceived by Isaac, who was willing to sacrifice Gomez's life to save his sister. Even before the experiment, Isaac dug a grave for his friend under the skull tree, knowing that the experiment would result in his destruction. When Morticia arrived at the scene, she found Gomez almost lifeless and sabotaged the machine to try to save him. In doing so, she caused a huge explosion, which ended up eliminating Isaac. After being the victim of this experiment, Gomez permanently lost his powers and helped Morticia, who was his girlfriend at the time, bury Isaac in the grave he had dug himself. Upon hearing this story, Wednesday concludes that Isaac is trying to repeat the experiment, but this time he intends to use Pugsley as a source of energy. That afternoon, while tending to his bees, Eugene receives a visit from Isaac, who leaves him a box to be delivered to Wednesday. Upon opening it, the girl finds a note and prepares to meet the zombie in the forest at midnight. After positioning her crossbow on a branch, the girl enlists Thing's help to pull the trigger as soon as Isaac is in her sights. However, the zombie uses his own hand as a shield and sends Tyler to capture Thing. At that moment, Wednesday discovers that her faithful squire is Isaac's right hand, which was cut off by Morticia on the night of the explosion. Somehow, the energy spike generated by the machine ended up bringing Thing to life, which is sewn back onto Isaac's fist. Furious to see the zombie controlling her friend, Wednesday decides to take action, but ends up being captured and thrown into the same grave where Isaac was buried. As soon as Isaac and Tyler leave, Agnes runs to ask Enid for help, who uses her claws to dig up her best friend. Realizing that she won't be able to save Wednesday in time, Enid takes on her werewolf form, allowing her to dig the hole faster. As it is a full moon night, Enid is unable to return to her human form and decides to flee through the forest, so Wednesday asks Agnes to go after her. Soon after, Morticia and Gomez appear, so Wednesday accompanies her parents to Lake Tower. After repairing the machine he built 30 years ago, Isaac orders Tyler to tie Pugsley to the power cables. At that moment, Francoise asks her brother to fulfill the promise he made to her, so Isaac ties his nephew to the stretcher. Knowing that there is only one source of energy available, the woman decides to use it to save her son, even though she knows that this decision will cost her her own life. As soon as Isaac turns on the machine, Wednesday and her mother break into the laboratory, and instead of eliminating Tyler with the help of her axe, the girl frees him. Immediately, the young man transforms and attacks his uncle. After being struck by her own son, Francoise assumes her hide form and both monsters begin a duel. Meanwhile, Wednesday manages to free her brother and enlists Morticia's help to get him out of the tower. After destroying the machine, the girl leaves the tower with her family, and Isaac is paralyzed when he sees his sister and nephew in battle. In an attempt to prevent another explosion, the madman tries to stabilize the machine, but is interrupted by Wednesday, who has returned to rescue Thing. When the girl is about to strike him, a new explosion occurs and Francoise ends up falling from the roof. Witnessing his mother lose her life, Tyler loses control and decides to flee before the police can capture him. Minutes later, Wednesday and Pugsley wake up and help their father remove an object from Morticia's body. Seeing that her mother is not breathing, Wednesday panics, realizing that she may be the family member who was eliminated in the premonition. However, minutes later, Morticia opens her eyes and says that once again, her daughter's premonition was wrong. Suddenly, Isaac appears and uses his powers to suffocate Wednesday, blaming her for what happened to Francoise. At that moment, the girl grabs her axe and throws it at her enemy. Despite missing the throw, the girl sees Thing trying to escape Isaac's influence and is proud of her old friend. At that moment, the zombie is attacked by a member of his own body, and Thing rips out the mechanical heart that kept Isaac alive. After freeing himself from the bonds that kept him attached to the zombie's body, Thing walks toward his family and is welcomed back with great joy. As for Enid, her wolf version was caught on a security camera, and Wednesday decides to use that photo as a clue to locate her friend. Before going on vacation, Wednesday visits her mother's cabin, and Morticia decides to give her Ophelia's diary. Seeing mother and daughter together re-establishing their family ties, Principal Weems realizes that her mission has been accomplished, and says that soon, if all goes well, Wednesday will have her psychic powers back. That afternoon, instead of returning home with her parents, Wednesday informs them that she has another task to complete and waits for her Uncle Fester to arrive to begin a search for Enid. While reading her aunt's diary, Wednesday has a vision and discovers that Ophelia is alive. When she goes to visit her daughter, who is being kept locked up, Hester sees a message written on the wall and realizes that her granddaughter is in danger. So what did you think of this movie?